Hey, listen, you are not overwhelmed, you are maximized, and you are letting your excuses be bigger than your dreams. Now, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through 3 steps to help you expand your physical and your mental capacity so you can actually handle everything you got going on right now and even take on more. That's the biggest thing, right? It's our capacity to handle stuff. Now, when I talk about being maximized, what happens, a lot of us go, man, I'm overwhelmed, I can't handle it. That's giving yourself a mentality of I can't do more. I am over the ability to do anything. And that's borderline of truth, but it's actually not, because the reality is in your life, if I was to drop you at your age right now into your life 5 years before, 5 years earlier, that person would be able to handle what you got going on, no problem. But vice versa, younger you to now, you'd freak out because it's just too much, which means over time, you expanded your capacity so you weren't overwhelmed, you just were maximized. And if you're maximized, we can increase your maximum. We're gonna talk about how to do that today, because I don't know for people I've worked with, this has been something they can amazingly do. When you apply it properly, it's a game changer. I got clients right now who they had one brick and mortar business, and were stressed out, man. They couldn't do much for their family and travel, all this kind of stuff. And they had this mentality of like, we're overwhelmed, this is too much. And I go, you're just maximized. And they go, what do you mean? And I explain some of the same stuff I'm gonna talk about today. And they progress to open up multiple new locations. They can now travel when they want to. They have a lot more freedom, and they are not overwhelmed. They're just maximized. And so when you get the mentality and we'll call it steps in place, you'll be able to take on everything you're doing now, as well as take on vastly more in the future without freaking out. So we're gonna go through this all, because here's what I do know. Too many people in our lives, too many people you know, possibly yourself, you get this problem where you face the overwhelm and it lingers longer than it needs to in your life. And you face this life where you're falling short of your true potential. Truly, like, there's things that you could do, and you watch other people do them and go, man, why does that person have success I should be having? Why can't I have what they have? And the truth of it is, well, you can, but you got to learn how to be able to take on more. I mean, there's this thing I used to tell people. I said, man, if your hero followed you around for a day, what would they say? Would they say, oh, you're killing it? Or would they say, that what you just did all day, I could do that in 2 hours? How did it take you 8 to do that? Because here's the truth. Most people who are overwhelmed, they don't get much done. They hide behind that excuse, and then the dream doesn't get met because the excuse of being overwhelmed is much higher, and so they don't get to accomplish stuff. Whereas the person who's succeeding goes, I can do that. They lean in, they increase their maximum. So in a day's time, let's say maybe you can get 2 hours of focused work done, the rest you're overwhelmed. Well, they can get 6. So at the end of a year, they have 3 years to year 1. Simple logic. They got 6 hours of focused work a day. You got 2, like that's 3 to 1, which means that they're progressing at a rate of 3 years of progression of their pace, where you're going at 1. There's no way you can catch up unless you learn to increase your capacity to handle more. It's kind of like, think about it like this. It's going to be a simple metaphor for you. Think about it like you have plugs at a house. Like, you have these outlets. Let's just say this trackpad here has a bunch of outlets on it, right? Let's say I got 2 outlets. Most houses have 2 outlets, right? But I got 6 plugs. I got my relationship. I got my faith. I got my fitness. I got my career. Maybe I got, kids I got to deal with, or maybe I got a new hobby, right? It's all these different things. So what I do is I go, well, which one can I give energy to now? I'm going to go ahead and work on the family and my faith. All right, but my fitness falls apart. My career falls apart. All these things. Okay, unplug fitness. I'm going to work on my marriage and my career. Cool. Well, your faith is out the window. Like, you can't handle it all. But what if you could increase to 6 plugs? You could handle all 6. What if you could increase to 10 plugs? You could actually have space for more stuff to come into your life. If I gave you a rundown of my day, it'd freak you out, because I do a whole lot in a regular day, but it's not that I'm doing a lot, but my ability to manage it as well, because I increased my capacity, right? So we're gonna go through this. It's gonna be 3 separate things, so just kind of dial in, because here's the truth. The first part of this, the first point we'll say is, if you can't handle 100 miles per hour, you will never handle 120. What it looks like is most people get to the point of being maximized, and we go too much, and we hit the brakes, we slow ourselves down. You've probably done it a couple times in your life. We go, man, this is kind of tough, and there's a lot going on, so we get a recluse. We pull back, we tuck away, and then all of a sudden life calms down around us, and the things that we're supposed to do diminish, and I don't get the opportunities. I slow the pace down. And then I go, man, but I want to have that thing that's happening at, we'll say 120 miles per hour. But at 100 miles per hour, you hit the brakes. How are you ever going to handle 120? So you've got to be able to go, whatever I'm handling now that is short of the goal that I got for my life, I must learn how to handle this, how to manage this. So as opposed to at 100 miles per hour in a car, because think about it, an actual car, if you're going 100 miles an hour and you start freaking out, you hit the brakes. You don't speed up to 120, but 120 is the pace of your dream. So you slow down, well, how are you ever going to go to 120? In fact, when you approach 100 miles per hour in the future, you'll want to slow down again because you had fear from the first time. What you got to do is go, all right, I got to somehow normalize to this. And this is where I got to go, okay, how do I tighten the seatbelt, grab the steering wheel, roll the windows up, turn the radio down, whatever, control. Now I can lock in a little bit more. And so what happens is you have to get to the point of understanding how to speed up. And part of that, the starting point is most of us, what we've been doing for the longest time, we've been going, I'm working as hard as I can. I can't do anymore. That's telltale signs of assuming you have overwhelm. That's what it looks like when you're at 100 miles per hour and you go, I can't take on anymore. It's crazy. What you do is you start alternating between A and B project and you go, but you never go, can I do A and B together? Or you slow yourself down. And so what happens is you end up riding this maybe a wave of success here, but then you're not doing the effort over here. So this thing wanes. So it's always a matter of kind of one's good and one's bad. And I'm never doing both and rising both at the same time. Because what happens at 100 miles per hour when they're both in place, you go, can't handle it. I'm working as hard as I can. You pull back. Well, if you're working as hard as you can, how can you take on more to actually get more? Can't do it. So you've got to get to the point of pulling back and going, hey, I got to maintain. So the solution to this, what most people don't do is they don't normalize and accelerate. That's the solution, is you've got to learn to normalize and accelerate, which means I got to go, whatever I'm doing now, if I want to get beyond this, I got to go, this is what I have to learn to do baseline. This has got to be the natural foundation of what I'm doing. And if it's not the foundation, well, how am I going to go past this? How are you going to go past it if you get stuck right now? Can't. So the idea is you got to learn how to go, okay, I'm going to normalize at this pace, then I'm gonna hit the gas again. I'm gonna hit the gas fast, I'm gonna go hard. I got to, because if I don't do it, I don't get much more. If you can do this, things become different. You can actually do more. And this is where I do anchor, like, if you want to say, well, where does this show up in the world? It shows up anywhere you have somebody you admire doing something great. Anybody. Right? If you look at anybody in the world, you probably find that if you were to hop into their shoes for a day, you'd go crazy. Like if someone was to hop into my life for a day, they'd probably freak out. Now, would P. Diddy, would Oprah, would, I don't know, I have no idea what else I want to throw out there that's not going to make anybody mad. Would anybody you know is famous hop into a life and it's doing crazy cool things? Yeah, The Rock. The Rock would be like, bro, you're lazy compared to him. You know what I mean? Like he operates at a whole different tick. And so my mentality is, we got to see that. You got to pay attention to that. You have to normalize to a pace and realize that for some people, your life is going to be easy. For others, it's going to be crazy hard. Doesn't matter what dream you got. Whatever your dream is, that's the pace at which you have to go. And you got to normalize at each pace at 100 miles per hour, at 105 miles per hour, at 110 miles per hour, until you get to 120 and go, I'm there. And then maybe you can go faster, right? That's the first part of it. And really at the end of the day, it's kind of the thing we got to focus on is really that area. Because you're probably going to yourself, well, man, how can you say that when you don't even know my life, man? How can you say I got to work harder? You have no idea I'm working so hard. Are you? Are you though? Like genuinely, if you're being honest with yourself, do you in the back of your head think I'm going as hard as humanly possible? There's nothing more. Or does part of you go, nah, there's some more. There's a little bit more. Because I honestly don't need to know you. Of the millions of people who've all had success, I'll tell you right now, their relative is all higher. Like their relative level of difficulty, it's higher. And so if you want to have that, you have to do that. Pretty straightforward. You have to get to that point, because if not, then you would be a person who just admits and accepts the excuse. See, successful people never accepted that excuse of I'm working too hard. They said, I want this dream. It's hard for me right now. I'm maximized, but I want that enough to where I'm going to do what needs to be done, even if it's hard. So I may not know your life, but if I know that you have a life and you have a dream above what you're doing, I do know the solution is not to say I'm working as hard as I can and giving yourself a cop-out. May not feel good to hear, but it's the truth. Lean into it. When you lean into it, things change. The next part is you must call out and commit to your season. If you want to get to the point of increasing and moving in a higher ticket and actually not being overwhelmed, you must call out and commit to the season you have, meaning the season you're in. Is it a season of growth? Is it a season of change? Is it a season of pause, of meditation, of calm? What's your season? When I say call it out, I mean literally own it out loud verbally and commit to it. Commit to it at a level to where when someone comes to poke and prod, doesn't matter what they say, you're locked in. Done. Locked in. No one gets to adjust this. I'm committed to this language right here. This is what I'm doing. Yeah, but you could do that. I don't care. I'm in this season. For example, I'm in season of dad right now. I want to be a dad. I want to be home with my kids, my family. That's my thing. So people ask like, hey, you could go and speak more often. You can get on more stage. You can work a little bit more. I go, nah, man, this is my season I'm in. I'm in season of stay home as much as possible. Season of serve my children, like coach my kids, serve my wife. That's the season I am in right now. I don't want to go on tours and travel around. Like, so what happens, you get to this point of now you're clarifying that that so everything behind that falls in suit. Because if you don't, then what ends up happening is most people make random commitments. We just go, I'm gonna kind of be successful. I'm gonna do some things here. I wanna make more freedom for myself. I wanna make more money. You just get to this point and you have no North Star. So what you do is you chase shiny objects all around and do this thing and that thing and this thing. And then what happens is you hope that at some point you arrive at your destination, and truth is you never do. You never fully arrive there. Like, you might arrive in the area, but you never get there. And if you do, you wouldn't even know because it wasn't clear in the first place. And so you end up running this life of burnout like you're feeling, overwhelmed, because you're not making progress. You can't see the progress. There's nothing to celebrate you. So you have to get to the point of being clear about it. When you do this, and you state and you own the season, what happens is you have a clear North Star. Now, every decision you make, it aligns and it stacks in that direction. So everything's going that way. And what happens is over time, you get closer and closer and closer, and you feel it. As you feel yourself getting closer, you rock and roll, but you have to actually get to this point of making a choice about what it is and having every decision lean in this way. There's a cool movie called Cheaper by the Dozen. I said that really fast. Cheaper by the Dozen. And what they do is this dad who's got a whole lot of kids, blended family, and he's kind of working too much as a football coach. The kids don't have a present parent, and the whole movie's about him trying to get this thing that's great for him, but he's in a different season. He needs to be more home, more present, so he realizes his season needs to change. Focus at home, doing the right stuff with the family. He's got to focus there. And so what happens is he starts to adjust over time and provide for his kids in a certain way, do certain things, and he needs to adjust, but he didn't call out and own the season. And when he does, he goes, all right, when this is done, I'm in season of dad. So that mentality for all of us, we could be in doing something and not realizing that I'm in a different season than my energy is going towards, and it becomes detrimental. You might be thinking, but hey, what if I got a living? I got to provide for my kids. I got to focus on work, and I got to do that. That's all good and well. I got 3 kids. At the end of the day, I have one's a kid that's 18 years old. He's a freshman in college. I have, kids that are 13 years old. And when I look at it farther out from now, I want my kids to want to come home for the holidays. To want to. It's different. It's different than them coming. I want them to look forward to the holiday season, what we do. And so that means that even while I want to create and provide for my kids now, I must be present with my kids now. So that maximization, it might be that you're taxed at work. Your first level or next level of maximizing might be maximizing your energy to show up for your children more, for your wife more, for your husband more. And that might be where you step into expanding your capacity mentally and physically, to be able to be awake, to be focused, to be dialed in, and mentally to have the wherewithal to endure meetings and conversations and stuff and still be present at the places that need you to be present with your family, right? That could be it. So don't get yourself this, it's just too much. Maybe you have to lean in and be a better, more present relationship human in terms of relationship with your wife, husband, or your kids. Because you do that, it's different. And then here's the most incredible part that I don't think anybody pays attention to. You must be at peace with the pieces. This is point 3. Be at peace with the pieces. What does this mean? What I have noticed for me is I got a lot of things I want to work on, right? I want to work on my book and my keynote and the quiz and the speaking program that we do and my dark work experience that we do as coaching. And I also want to be able to go and train my daughter and train my son and train my wife and all these things I do. I have hobbies as well. I want to travel. I want to go do things. There's a lot going on. But the idea is a lot of us have all this stuff. We hold it in our head and we're thinking about all the things that are not done yet, that aren't completed. And so what happens, we go, man, I didn't get this done. And so we go to bed every single night, we get in bed and go, God, there's so much left undone. There's so many open loops. You get this pressure and tension that just, it sits on your soul. It caves your chest in. And I go, I can't feel like this every day. I got to feel like I'm making progress, and I am making progress, but not feel like a loser because I'm not completing something right now. So I started realizing, well, how do I do that? Well, what if I break it into pieces? What if I chop things up into different sections, right? And I go, this is going to be 5 sections of an hour. It's going to be 6 sections of an hour. This is going to be, 10 hours kind of thing. And what if I weave that into my life to where I can lay that out, and then what happens at the end of a day, if these things are infused into my schedule and I haven't completed them yet, well, it's okay. Because what happens is when I'm done, I can lay that down and I can walk away and go, although it's not done, the book's not finished, the keynote's not done, the quiz isn't completed, right? I'm on track to finish it. I'm on track to finish it. That's it. If you can be on track with that piece of the project and be at peace with the pieces, life's a game change. It's different. You're not maximized, because most of the time we're maximized mentally because we're holding on to all the stuff in our head that we got to get done. We never took it out and organized it. It's all there trying to make sure I don't forget something while working on other projects. And then when we're working on those, the weight of the old stuff, the other things weighs on that, so I never get it done. And then if I do complete that day, I go, but tomorrow I got this, and I don't know when this is going to get done. And it's just stress. But you can eliminate that overwhelm, eliminate that, even the feeling of maximization, by organizing things, taking actions on the small little pieces, little by little, and being at peace every night with that organized piece done for the day. So I can close this up and I'm done hanging out with you. I can go into my life with my wife and my kids, and I'm not even thinking about work or stressed about it because I know that everything that's supposed to get done is getting done and it's on track. See, that's the big key. If you can get things done on track, then it's all crazy. It's great. And I know a lot of us, we keep it all in our head, we go crazy, but if you can get it out of your head and organize, man, it's a game changer. And for me, I know this is something where when I look at my past, I had an experience where I was divorced. I lost my wife, I lost my family, I was divorced because I was at work, both at work and when I was home. I'd go to work and I'd be trying to get work done. I'd be focused here, all this stuff. I gotta do the marketing and train clients at this gym I own. I train clients to do this stuff. I was there from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And while I was there, I was just doing the thing. It's focused here, but I would have more to get done than what I got done that day. So I would then go home and go, okay, tomorrow I gotta do this. And honey, can you, yeah, hold on. I gotta do that. And I would be all in my head about work still. I didn't have the ability to lay it down and organize it. I wasn't at peace with the pieces for the day. It ended up causing a big ruckus. I got divorced. We ended up getting remarried 3 years later, thankfully. I have an amazing marriage now, but I do this. I've lived this, what I'm talking about. And I now teach, obviously, in this aspect here of how to navigate this, because when you can change your life. You can change the lineage of your family, succession, all that, because you can teach them more and you can make more revenue. In fact, when I'm more dialed and clear, I'm able to be at peace with pieces. More gets done without stress. I get more headway. I am the person that can go for 6 hours. So I got 3 to most people's 1, if that. And so now you get ahead and you get ahead and you can go that. And you go, man, how do you live with open loops? Anthony, like, this sounds good, but hey, how do you just all of a sudden have the book unfinished, the project undone? Aren't you stressed out? Yeah, but here's the truth. Someone once told me this, and it settles in so nicely. They said, if you were to be locked in a room for 30 days, no sleep, no food, you don't need to sleep, you don't need to eat, and you just got to work on your projects, you would come out of that room 30 days later with more than you went in with. Think about it, because how do we do things? We go, we create something, we get a new idea. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and it just keeps expanding. So the idea is you have to be at peace with the pieces. You have to live at open loops. If you can't learn to manage that and work on getting on track and staying on track as opposed to staying completed, well, you're gonna freak yourself out for no reason, because there's literally no way to get to a point of having all things done all the time, and you're always gonna have more to do. So choose the most important things, segment them, and work at the tasks individually. When you are able to do this, you'll remove yourself from that overwhelming feeling of just overwhelmed, period, and go to like, oh, you know what? Feeling maximized right now. Doesn't feel great, but I feel maximized. And I think if I can make this tweak here, adjust, get them out of my head, put it on down, be at peace of the pieces, you know what? I think I'll be good. And then you actually can breathe into it, take a step and go forward. That, my friend, is how you get to the point of removing this crazy feeling of overwhelm. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check this one out too. We spent some time on this one here. It's one that I went and dove a little bit deeper into for you. So make sure you check it out. If you enjoyed this one, that's going to be just as good, if not better. It's one of my favorites. That's it. Take care. And as always, make the most of your shift moments so you can make shift happen, and go out and do the dark work so you can make shift happen.